and check if we're online, if we're live on my phone.
Oh, I just heard you say I need to check if we're online live. So, yep.
Yep, we're live. Woohoo!
Yep.
Okay, let's just post it on. I'll just post it on social media, and we can get going. Hey, I told you, 90% less technical difficulties. There was still 10% technical difficulties, but it wasn't 100% less. But are you ready, Imp?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it. Hello and welcome to the AEW Match Guide podcast, New Japan and AEW Forbidden Door preview. This is a pay-per-view that has been in the making for years and years and years, and it is finally here. And I feel like you and I, Imp, my guest Imp, we are specially qualified to preview this podcast, given that we have been covering New Japan and AEW for so long now, since the start of 2018. That's 4 years ago now, when we had our first podcast together, and it was a New Japan Wrestle Kingdom podcast. And we have now both covered New Japan and AEW, as well as many other wrestling things. But I am really excited for this show, Imp, and I am really excited to preview it for you today, with you today. But before we get started, I should introduce you. It's my partner in crime. He's a raconteur. He's a Renaissance man. He's a writer. He's a podcaster. He plays guitar, even. He is the damn Implicat. Say hello to your good friends. One of the, 1,000 out there with an AEW podcast. That's okay. Has been happening for a month, it feels like. Indeed it is. Yes, and yeah, look, we will get into we'll be talking about a lot of things tonight. I'll actually be giving, to start things off, I'll be giving an update on the definitive AEW match guide list that will be coming out starting next week. Very exciting. An update on the status of this podcast, because it's been a while since I've dropped an actual episode of this podcast. And of course, we'll be breaking down the Forbidden Door, talking about the card in general, and then going through it match by match as we go through. But before we get into all that, I do want to just plug the Social Suplex Podcast Network, who host this podcast every week when it's coming out. If you do enjoy what you listen to here, please rate and review us, and on whatever podcast app that you use. All of that goes a long way to making sure that new people can find this podcast easily. If you feel inclined and if you are financially able to, we would love your financial support. You can do that on Red Circle. If you're listening on YouTube, you can go to Red Circle, or just Google Red Circle or AEW Match Guide, and there's a way to do that. Or if you're listening on podcast, there's a link in the description to be able to provide a once-off donation or an ongoing month-to-month donation, which just goes towards things like hosting and all of that stuff that does need to get paid for by someone. And you can listen to all of the other great shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We've got One Nation Radio, who will be dropping a Forbidden Door preview. We've got King of Strong Style, Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcasts. They are the best New Japan podcast out there. We've got Great Match Generator. We've got Grave Consequences podcast. There's a whole slew of things. You can listen to us. We've all got individual feeds, or if you just subscribe to the Social Suplex feed, you'll get all of those shows delivered to you every single day of the week. It's a great network to be part of, and so I want to make sure that everyone knows that. But we should get down to business, Imp. Because, as I said, we've got a lot to cover. The first thing I did want to go over is just a little bit of housekeeping for the AEW Match Guide podcast. For those of you who've listened to previous shows, they'll know we're on a temporary hiatus from reviewing each match. If this is your first time listening, each week I typically have a guest. Imp, you've been on, I think, 2 times, 3 times maybe. I can't remember at this stage. If it's not 3 times yet, it'll be 3 times soon. And we deep dive into one of the matches that AEW has put on, and they're taken from a list called the Definitive AEW Match Guide. And that is an annual list now that comes out each year after Double or Nothing, that chronicles the 50 best matches that AEW has put on. The first version of that list covered the first 18 months or so, the first 2 years, I guess, of AEW's existence. And the second one, which will be coming out on Friday, will cover this most recent year between Double or Nothing 2021 and Double or Nothing 2022, which was a huge year for the company. You know, you've got a lot going on. Kenny Omega as champ, the Young Bucks as champ. You've got the debuts of Malachi Black, Andrade, and then, you know, a few kind of famous, kind of well-known wrestlers. CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole. You've got Hangman Page ascending to being champion. Him losing the championship eventually at Double or Nothing, I guess, which actually that technically doesn't count. So forget that. That'll be next year's one. But, you know, a lot happened in the year for AEW, and we'll be chronicling it in the match list, which ranks the 50 best matches. The way that we work that out, it's not just myself, it's not just my personal opinion. I have handpicked a batch of people who I trust and who I know who are passionate, who are engaged, and who love AEW and who love wrestling, and are insightful in their commentary, and they have all ranked their top 15. And from those top 15s, we have come up with this list. And this list this year is bigger than last year, more diverse than last year. I'm so excited for people to be able to see it. I've seen the votes trickling in. I know where everything's placed, but just a few things to sort of tease you out. So last year we had 31 voters. This year we've got over 40. So, a real diverse set of people from all places around the earth. We've got Australians in myself. We've got New Zealanders. We've got Indians. We've got South Africa. We've got some Irishmen. We've got some Yanks. We've got some Canadians. They're from everywhere, all around the world. Men, women. And together they've come up with 86 matches. So the bar was really high to even just get in the top 50 this year. And the thing that really excited me this year was the first year we did it, there was an absolute runaway runner. Right? We had like 30 people vote, and I think like 25 all voted for the same match as number one. This year, 11 matches got number one votes, with 7 of them getting more than one vote. And it's a much closer... There was a clear winner, but it was much closer, particularly at the top. And in the final votes that came in, they changed the top 10. So it was, it was really exciting for me seeing them all come in. And you guys will get to see that. I'll be posting that on Wrestling Headlines starting next Friday. We'll be doing numbers 50 to 31. And then the Friday after, numbers 30 to 11. And then numbers 10 to 1 will be announced via podcast, a live podcast that, Imp, if you're not busy, it'd be great to have you on that podcast. Just as we did last year. Yeah. Yep. That was indeed. And that will announce the top 10, and then of course will be posted with everybody's commentary that has voted and has put in commentary. That will be included that week as well. But drum roll, please. Number 50. I'm proud to announce it here, just as a tease. Number 50 in the countdown is Darby Allin and Sting versus FTR from Dynamite on September 22nd, 2021. So that's number 50. That was a pretty well-received match, if people remember correctly. There was a lot of people giving FTR raps. And that's that's one of the stories, isn't it? Match guide, the rise of FTR in popularity. Because they have certainly hit hard. And that, that's sort of a starting point for them almost. Not that they weren't doing good things up to that point, but certainly when they started working around with Sting, with Darby Allin, that was the start of something for them. So, yeah, that's one of the narratives just that I'm laying out there. You can check it out there and look out for the link there. But that's not what drew people here to the podcast today. Today, people came to listen to us talk about Forbidden Door. And Imp, this is a show, as I said at the top, that, people have been fantasy booking for years. Like, I feel like I heard my first podcast or saw my first tweets about an AEW and New Japan show within a week of AEW announcing. And, they may not have even signed Kenny Omega at that point, but people were still fantasy booking a combined show by these guys. And I've said that I'm really excited. You've said you're really excited. But can you expand on those thoughts? Like, what do you think of the build to this so far? What do you think of the reception that it's had so far? I'm curious to get your thoughts, Imp. Title matches. Mm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Just a second, Imp. I may just get you to switch your camera off on Skype. Obviously, don't hang up and leave the audio, please. Leave me high and dry, but just switch your camera off. I'm just getting some stuff flashing up on my screen saying that bandwidth may be causing issues. And that will help lower that. To what you've said, I'll temper what you've said because I feel like, I mean, it's hard to be objective around this. It's hard to really. The interesting thing, the hard part with it is, as I said, like people have been fantasy booking this for years and years, and it was almost impossible for them to live up to the expectations of this. And at the same time, just the fact that this is the first time they're doing it, and as you said, we're getting an IWGP title defense, we're getting an AEW interim title defense, we're getting other title matches, like there's title implications on this show. And just the fact that it's happening is almost the draw. It kind of reminds me of, like, if you look back at the card for Double or Nothing 2021, when crowds came back for the first time. You know, like, the championship match there was pretty much a foregone conclusion in terms of who was going to win, with Kenny Omega versus Pac and Orange Cassidy. And so was, like, the tag team title match, for example. Like, the Young Bucks versus Moxley and Eddie Kingston. You know, that was a match that was pretty easy to understand who was going to book it. It didn't have, like, they didn't have that many matches of giant consequence on that card. The draw of it was like, hey, crowds are back. Don't you want to be part of this party? And in many ways, like, this card can be that. And I think there are some people who have set themselves up with an expectation for what this could be that is almost even unfair on AEW and New Japan. And, like, I remember talking to someone, and this is someone who is not an idiot and not talking in bad faith. And they were saying, my expectation for this is a champion versus champion match. And I was just like, mate, That is just not going to happen. Like, they could be running these for 10 years and we'll probably never get one of these. Like, we'll probably never get that. Because the politics in it, both companies like to have strong champions, and the politics in it are impossible. Because neither of them can lose. So that in itself is setting itself up for failure. But that said, I understand some people's disappointment in this because they have had some weird own goals and I think part of it is down to the scheduling as well. Like, they had to start building this straight after Double or Nothing, and they only had 3 weeks to build it. But at the same time, Dominion had massive title implications that was actually impossible to have because that weekend, Kazuchika Okada lost. Like, that is an own goal. They should not have had Hangman Page calling out Kazuchika Okada for a one-on-one match if they weren't going to deliver it, because they knew that's what people wanted. People didn't want to see Adam Cole. They don't really want a 4-way match. And it's okay that they've delivered a 4-way match, but the fact that they initially put out there, hey, Kazuchika Okada versus Hangman Page in a one-on-one for the IWGP, like, that's what everyone wanted. Massive pop. And they couldn't deliver it. So they should never have said that. Hangman should have been like, I want the winner of this. And then Adam Cole would have been like, no, I want the winner of it. And that does it without setting up that expectation for Hangman and Okada. Because honestly, I fell for that. And I was a bit pissed off at the same. I was like, look, AEW should have known that, like, either they knew that this was going to happen and they still let us think that that we could get a one-on-one match, which was a bad idea for, as I said, or they didn't know, which, I don't know, that doesn't talk well for the communication between the two companies. And of course, like, there's injuries and stuff like that which have been beyond their control, but, like, stuff like that, I feel like that's an own goal that they sort of kicked when they didn't necessarily need to. And I can understand people being not necessarily as high on this card because of those things. But, like, personally, I'm, as I said, like, just as much as Double or Nothing 2021, like, I'm just pumped that this is happening. I've got the day off work, like, pay-per-views for here, because I live in Australia, they happen on a Monday. I've got the day off work, little girl's going to be at daycare, so I'm going to, like, in the morning, I'm going out for a big old bike ride, I'm going to have some buffalo wings. Oh, my wife, you can't see this, Imp, but my wife just bought me a cheeseburger. She's just got back home from the movies, and she bought me a cheeseburger. She is wonderful. But yeah, look, I'm pumped for this thing because, I love New Japan. I love AEW. And just the fact this thing is happening in any way is a dream scenario for me. And, the matches I would have honestly been happy if it had been all tag matches. I didn't think they were going to do that because that would have been, like, that wouldn't have been a good thing, and they are charging pay-per-view for this. And in particularly in, like, the Western sphere, the expectation for a pay-per-view is higher than that. But I would have been happy with tag matches. But and we're getting an AEW title, we're getting an IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So I'm happy, I'm fine, I'm pumped. I'm gonna have a great day. But I do understand why some people are a little bit disappointed because there has been just some, like, the build to it has not been as great as it could have been, and there has been some sort of, like, expectation set that have been pulled away, which should have never been done in the first place. Yeah. Yep. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of got caught between, as I said, it kind of got caught between dates as well a little bit. Like, AEW didn't have long to book it. New Japan are doing this program with their title where, like, everything's about the Bullet Club rising. But of course, for Western audiences, they want to see Kazuchika Okada defend the IWGP, but at the same time in New Japan, they're running a different story. So, it's a balancing act that they haven't necessarily completely succeeded in. But look, let's get into the actual card itself. And the first one I've actually put up is the match that will probably go on last, I imagine, which is Jon Moxley versus Hiroshi Tanahashi for the AEW interim title. We've just spent a bunch of time talking about the IWGP, but let's transition to the AEW interim title with Jon Moxley versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. This is a really long-term program that has been sort of elevated and shoehorned into the title position because CM Punk got injured. But you probably can guess that I'm a bit excited about this and about the implications of this imp. But as you know, someone who isn't necessarily quite as ride or die with Jon Moxley as I am, I'm curious how you feel about this and how you feel about the match that they've proposed. Yep. Mm. Sorry to spoil that particular theory, but Dynamite happens on a Thursday in this part of the world. So Wednesday is actually the wrong day to be looking at it. Although you would need Wednesday to fly over there. And yeah. Sorry to pop that balloon, people. Think about... Oh, can you imagine it? Far out. Yes. Mm. Yeah, and it like became a thing like, just in the final, halfway through the final segment, when it just seemed to be like Tony Schiavone like realizing, oh, I should say this. Like he just kind of came up with it off the cuff. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Mm. 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 The thing I like about... So, obviously, I like Jon Moxley potentially being the AEW champion again. But the thing I like about this match, headlining this show, is that you've got sort of two real promotional defining stars who had long periods flying the flag for their company and also flying the flag through dark times for the company. Of course, like Tanahashi has sort of been usurped by Kazuchika Okada as like the figurehead for New Japan, but he is more than anyone really, like he is New Japan and what New Japan is today. He built that out of the darkest time for that company, a time where the company may not have been able to arise again if it wasn't for it may have closed up shop eventually if it wasn't for the emergence of this charismatic, high-flying, fast-paced guy who just fights with such incredible charisma and heart and fire and passion, and who just forged this emotional bond with New Japan fans that was just so infectious. And Tanahashi is so important to that promotion and so important to getting that promotion to the level that it became, that, it's become such a legendary thing in the 2010s. It became such a legendary promotion and such a successful promotion and became a promotion that got such attention in the West. That's off the back of two people, Kazuchika Okada and Hiroshi Tanahashi. And Tanahashi is the one that did the hardest legwork early on. And then, of course, you've got Jon Moxley, who he was the guy who flew the flag, held the AEW championship through the pandemic. There was other people, of course, just like there was other people around Tanahashi. Your Nakamura's, your Shibata who came back, and your Suzuki even, and the New Japan dads when they were a lot younger. There was other people around Jon Moxley, but he was the champion. He was the figurehead through the toughest time for the promotion, a time that the promotion may not have survived. And these two guys sort of come into this incredible interpromotional event that is like a showcase for each of them. And I feel like it's kind of fitting that it's Jon Moxley. And some people aren't going to like me saying this, that it's Jon Moxley, not CM Punk, that is flying the flag for AEW in the main event. Was for as good as CM Punk has been, he showed up after the tough times were over. Like, he showed up when the risk was significantly lower. Whereas Jon Moxley, he threw away his WWE contract when, he could have continued cashing that check for years, and he showed up on the very first show. And, as I said, flew the flag through dark times. He is, of course, the Elite are as well, but Jon Moxley is a promotional defining star for AEW. And it's very fitting that he is representing them, and it's very fitting that Hiroshi Tanahashi is representing New Japan. So I really like the fact these two are coming together in the main event. And you know what? Both are in like really fantastic form at the moment as well. Like, Jon Moxley is currently on he's on the path to winning Wrestler of the Year. He is, everything he is touching is golden at the moment, or I should probably say, like, everything he touches is stained in disgusting, awful blood and gruesome but beautiful wrestling violence. And Tanahashi, he is looking pretty stiff, but he can turn it on. Like, if you watch the match he had with Ishii a month ago, or the four-way they had at Capital Collision, like, you see that even though he's not the ace he was even 2 years ago, he can still get it done, and he still knows how to connect, and he still knows how to get it done in the ring. So I think these guys are going to have a great match, and I think it's very fitting that they are fighting in the main event for this show. Who do you think's going to win, Imp? Yep. Yep. Yeah. It would be tough to fly from Japan to America and back, even every second week through the G1. Like, even if that'd be such a tough schedule. I mean, if anyone is crazy enough to sign up for it, it'd be Tanahashi. And, Rich Latta actually had a good point that if they wanted to, just have this as almost a vanity run, like, it adds a bit of prestige, the fact that Hiroshi Tanahashi has held a AEW title. I know it's the interim title, so I'm not sure what they're going to do with, like, the title history and the lineage when it all boils down to it and CM Punk comes back. But, it isn't... it would be, quite a nice thing for them to have Hiroshi Tanahashi in that as part of that lineage. But yeah, look, I think you'd be crazy to put money on it. Hmm. Mm. Yep. Yep. Yeah. I think they're going to play into that though. Like, I think John Moxley will probably dominate this match. But Hiroshi Tanahashi, I think he's going to have one hell of a comeback, and we'll probably get the first high fly flow, then the standing one. We'll get the standing, the aces high. Then we'll get him doing it to John Moxley's back, and then I think we'll get like a really close near fall. I reckon we'll get the 3 high fly flows, and a really close near fall, to tease that Tanahashi could potentially win it. Mm. Yep. Yep. Mm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Oh, John Moxley's been cutting incredible promos about this match as well. Like, as he is apt to do any time of the year. But yeah, this is going to be a great match. I'm excited to see it finally happen. And yeah, I think, as I said, I think it's a fitting main event. Let's move on to the other World Championship that will be defended. The IWP World Heavyweight Championship. We've got Jay White, as was announced last night on Dynamite, if you're listening from America or overseas. Jay White versus Hangman Page versus Kazuchika Okada versus Adam Cole in a 4-way match for the championship. As I said earlier, I have not been the biggest fan of the build to this. How have you felt about it all? When's the coin going to drop? Mm. 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 Yep. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, it kind of became a case of, because they end up switching the title, and they had good reason for doing that within New Japan, but like, I think what people wanted was they wanted Kazuchika Okada, they wanted a title defense, and they wanted a one-on-one match. And it became a case of, you've got these three things, but you can only have two of them, because they switched the title. So it's like you can have an IWGP match and a singles match, but it's not going to have Okada in it. Or you can have an Okada singles match, but it's not going to have the title in it. And that's unfortunate, because that's what people wanted. If they hadn't delivered Okada after he specifically was named, I was super excited to see it, because like Kazuchika Okada on Dynamite is incredible, but I was never convinced that he would not be there, because they had said his name too many times, and they would have been absolute idiots to say Kazuchika Okada in and around the title and not even deliver the man at all. That would have been an unforgivable offense. Like, that would have been a you have completely screwed up moment. Even though, like, of course, Okada's got a baby coming along and all of that, which is, for him personally, of course, is very important. But, promotionally, if they didn't think they were going to get Okada, then they should not say his name, because, like, that man is a god, considered a god of wrestling. And there's such a mythos built up around his name that you can't, particularly amongst Western fans, that you can't, like, say the name and not deliver it. Like, that would have been unforgivable if they'd done that. And you know what the sad thing is about all of this is that Jay White has been on absolute fire. He has been fantastic. I think Hangman Page has been fantastic as well. They've just had poor material. Like, Hangman Page has been all fired up in the best ways possible for himself. Jay White has been his absolute condescending, prickish best. Particularly, like, I loved how he just big brothered Adam Cole. I don't care that Adam Cole is younger than Jay White. He's Jay White's little brother forever now, after the way that Jay White's been treating him, particularly last week, when he was like, sorry, Adam, it's not going to be you, buddy. He has been in rare form, absolutely nailing it. And as I said, so has Hangman Page. But they just haven't had great material to deal with. And it feels like, they may not have even been sure what the ending of this was all going to be when they set out for this just 3 weeks ago, which is not a good thing, like, promotionally. They should have known. They should have, like, had this written down before they started promoting anything for Forbidden Door. They should have known what they were going to do with the championship. In both cases, obviously, injuries derailed the first one, but it feels like this wasn't the plan for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, but they've actually had nothing go wrong. They've just sort of not done it very well, if that makes sense. Yeah. 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 Huh. Yeah. 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 I mean, obviously, predicting who's going to win. I'm going to be setting up a prayer circle. I'm going to be fasting. No, I'm not going to be fasting. I'm going to, at church on Sunday, I'm going to be setting up prayers for Hangman Page, but it's going to be Jay White. Like, of course it's going to be Jay White. Like, oh, yeah, I would, that is something that you can predict. There's a chance he'll pin Hangman Page as well. He's definitely not pinning Kazuchika Okada, though. That is not happening again. Yeah. And, we're still going to get, like, all these great... We've sort of buried... And that's going to be the case with some of these things, right? Like, we've sort of buried the build-up to this. Rightfully so, I feel like. But the match itself, like, I think it's going to be fantastic. We're going to have these great counter... Jay White and Adam Cole, as much as I don't... I haven't gelled with Adam Cole in AEW. Like, Jay White, Adam Cole, Kazuchika Okada, they're all excellent counter wrestlers. And Hangman Page is such an explosive, offensive wrestler. Like, the exchanges we're going to get in this will be exquisite. I cannot wait to see Hangman Page and Jay White going back and forth, and see how Jay White counters Hangman Page's stuff. And, of course, like, the final sequences of a Kazuchika Okada match go, goes without saying that they are absolutely incredible. So, once they get in the ring, this is going to be great. Yeah. And they're different guys now than that. That was 2018. Yeah, they're both different guys. Yeah. No, you're thinking of the Juice Robinson match there, but yeah. No, but Hangman and Jay White did have a match for it at an American show, just not the one where they did the accidental commentary thing. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, back then it was like, these guys are going to be great in 3 years' time, 4 years' time. And now it's 4 years' time later. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So let's move along to the crowning of the new AEW All-Atlantic Champion. 4-way match between Puck, Miro, Malachi Black, and Tomohiro Ishii. Imp, just to start off with, I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the title in general and the tournament that was there to build up this match. Mm. Mm. Yep. Mm. Any of them winning it would be great. Mm. 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 Yeah. Yeah, I was not jazzed by the idea of a new title, particularly given that the ROH titles are still sort of running around AEW. The reason being that if everyone's got a title, the whole point of a title is for it to be prestigious, and therefore the person who holds it is elevated in their level, and people are trying to chase them because they want to have that title, because they want to be elevated by holding the title. But if there's too many positions of elevation, then all of those positions get lowered somewhat. And that's what I was worried about. If this is going to be another TNT title, then I think they should bin it. But the thing that I liked was a suggestion by Rich and James from One Nation Radio that this should be a touring title or an excursion title. So the person who gets this goes out and they have matches on different indies, but particularly with a focus maybe on like international matches. So maybe they go over to Rev Pro, or come over here to or they go over to New Japan or other Japanese. There's a partnership with DDT. Maybe they go over and defend it in DDT. Maybe they come over to Newcastle Pro Wrestling, just to throw an Australian company out there that they would be welcome to come to. And I'll vacate my house so they can have comfortable lodgings while they're here. Yeah, sorry to my daughter and my wife. We're sleeping in the car, so Pat can have our house. But, and if that's the case, I really love the idea of this belt. But if it's just another belt, there's a lot going on. But yeah, as you said, the 4 people in this are excellent. And it's a sneaky way of, in one match, booking a great Hoss match between Ishii and Miro. These guys are going to run into the ropes and slam into each other, and then they're going to look at each other, and then one of them's going to, gesture to the other one to run, and they're going to slam into it and go poof, and the sweat's going to fly off. And then while that's happening, you're going to have Puck and Malachi Black flipping and jumping all over the place, doing like an indie spot fest sort of thing. So it's a sneaky way of booking, doing 2 things with one match. Yeah. Mm. 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 Yes. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yes. No, I would hardly endorse that. Yeah, this could be, give these guys 15 minutes. This could be match of the night. The who do you think? You said Park, Miro, or Malachi. My personal pick would be Park, but any 3 of those. Miro's got form with elevating a title and sort of really putting his spin on it. Park, he sort of, if this is, potentially what could be a throwaway title, or at risk of being a throwaway title, Park as Neville took the Cruiserweight title and really made it his own back in WWE and really put his stamp on it. So he's got form for doing that sort of thing as well. So either of those guys, and Malachi Black is fantastic as well. I don't know if he would work as well. I don't think he necessarily needs a title. But a good feud coming out of this potentially could be Miro and Malachi, given that Miro's always talking about how he's, wants to kill God, and Malachi, while he's not, a god or anything, he's certainly got a bit of an extra edge to him in the fantastical element that, I don't know, I can imagine it would work with Miro in some ways. But yeah, my personal pick is Park, just because he's so damn good. He is so damn good. And everything, not just in ring. Everyone knows he's good in ring, but he is a bloody brilliant promo. He's one of the best promo. He's like a top 10 promo. I don't know. AEW is a great promo company, but he is great. He is fantastic with a mic in hand. And he is a guy who could take this title and, maybe he goes and, he apparently still lives in England, so maybe he spends some time over in England defending it. And we get a 2 minute video package of a report from over in England where they're like, our All Atlantic champion just defended the title in Nottingham, and there was this crazy guy called Matt Mayer who jumped the barricade. And no, you understand what I'm saying there. Yep. I don't want you to die, please. So please don't do that. It's a 24/7 title. You can win it for yourself. Sorry, who? Sorry for derailing it. Who do you think's gonna win him? Yep. Yep. Mm. Yep. Dragon Gate title. Mm. Yep. Mm. Yeah. Mm. 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 Yeah. Oh, and it's a great. I mean, you could go all over Europe. Just hop, skip, and a jump over to is. I'm sure there's still promotions running in Germany and all over the shop. Yeah, and I mean, it's a great solution for the roster bloat problem they've got, where like it is hard for guys like Park or Malachi Black to regularly get featured spots on TV because there's just so many great talents. And this is a great, it's a great solution. Just send them somewhere else and don't put them on TV. But still, they've got something to do. And as I said, you could do like those video packages and stuff like that, so that it's still elevated. And then it's kind of really exciting when they come back. And this is the kind of belt that I feel like is made for Konosuke Takeshita. Eventually, at some point, and him versus Pac, please. Yeah, neither of us like the belt, so it's just not going to be on TV. Okay. Let's move on. We need to keep moving. We're going to move on to the AEW Women's Championship, Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa. This is one that really intrigues me, Imp. I feel like Toni Storm is a big long-term play for this division. Like, I think she is potentially an ace-like figure. I don't know what's going to happen with Sasha Banks. If she comes, obviously she would immediately assume that sort of level of position. And of course, Britt Baker is that sort of that person at the moment. But I think long term, like Toni Storm is the person you could be doing that for. She's incredible in the ring. She's getting better and better at promos, and she's obviously very marketable for reasons. But at the same time, so I feel like, maybe you want to crown her, and I don't think they should be beating her often. But at the same time, I feel like Thunder Rosa's reign really hasn't gotten out of the blocks the way it should have, and I feel like she's still got more to go in her reign. So help me with this, Imp. Who do you think is going to win, and what do you think this is going to, like, what's the shape of the AEW Women's Division coming out of this? Mm. Indeed. Yep. Mm. 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 Yeah. Mm. Yep. Yeah. Mm. See, she had Serena Deeb though at Double or Nothing, and like I feel like it's not necessarily, it's definitely not all Thunder Rosa's fault that hasn't hit. Like she hasn't been featured as much as she should have been, but I don't think this championship reign is doing what it should be doing, and for me, I'm kind of just like, just do it for Tony Storm, like just make her the champion. Like if she's going to be the ace for the division, don't beat her in championship matches. Make her the champion. Give her wins. Like, and there's plenty of people who she can go out and beat. Like, you know, she'd have a great match with Serena Deeb just to pull her name out of nowhere. Or you know, Jamie Hayter. There's definitely a good reason to go back to that match. Nyla Rose, which I think. I think maybe the get out for this is going to be that Nyla Rose interferes somehow, and costs Tony Storm the match. That may be like the way they transition things out, and move her out of the championship picture without damaging her with a completely clean loss. But in some ways, I'm kind of just like, just do it. Like, I don't. Unfortunately, because she is such a star, and I feel like Thunder Rosa isn't in the good books with Tony Khan, and that's one of the reasons that her reign isn't going very well. That's really shit for Thunder Rosa, and that's a really tough thing to say. Like, and it really sucks that she has to be in that position, but at the same time, like, maybe it will help the women's division as a whole if Tony Storm is champion rather than Thunder Rosa. Yeah. Mm. Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's fair. Mm. Malachi Black. Mm. 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 Yep. Yeah, that's fair. Mm. Yep. Yeah, I hope not. Mm. 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 Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think it's most likely that Thunder Rosa wins, but yeah, as I said, I don't know. For me, I'm just like, if you're not going to care about it, Tony, then give it to Tony. Let's move on. Let's move out of that depressing part. I hope they kill it. I hope they get a great match. Both these girls can. They both these women can, I should say. Sorry, that's very patronising. Don't say that, Sam. Both these women can absolutely crush it. And also, I may be slightly biased because Tony Storm is an Aussie, and I want an Aussie champion. So, and Buddy Murphy. Oh yeah, Jay White, of course, IWGP New Japan champion. He's Australian as as Australian as the Lord of the Rings. Absolutely. Yes. That's what IWGP stands for. Anyway, let's move on. Moving on to the ROH tag match, the ROH IWGP tag titles match. We've got FTR versus Jeff Cobb and the Great O'Khan versus Roppongi Vice. We've not been high on some of the build-ups, but I've loved the build-up for this one, Imp. This has been a fun one. Just because of O'Khan in Vegas, either. Although that's part of it. That is definitely part of it. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think he does like he was like, nah, miss me with Shibata. I don't want to deal with him. I remember going against him when I was a young lion. I don't want to deal with him again. Vegas though. That looks a bit more attractive. I'll just go a little bit east of that LA dojo. Do you think he does like his full entrance in like the full getup just to, really send some minds spinning and get some bad faith takes going? Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yep. It's interesting how I think Okan got it together a lot quicker than Master Watto, but Watto seems to also have like sort of managed to bring his character, this kind of weird and wild character that he got given, and sort of wrangled it in and made it his own in some ways. And it's interesting how both of those guys who, they both debuted or re-debuted, returned from their excursions at similar sort of arc. Oh, no. My... Oh, good lord. Good lord. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. It's not like he's big match Taguchi anymore. He's he's yeah. I love how in Best of the Super Juniors, he was acting like he was going to be taking it all seriously, and literally the first match, he's just doing nothing but the stupid stuff. Yeah, it's like Cody. I mean, it's completely different comparison, but it's like Cody Rhodes having all this stuff in his contract about not being able to do anything Stardust, and the first thing he does in the ring in wrestling. Yeah, look, in terms of this actual match, we've talked about a lot of other stuff. I really like the interactions FTR and the United Empire teams have had. Obviously, their interactions with Khan and Cobb haven't been a full-on match like it has been with Aussie Open, but I have liked what they've done. I kind of hope they try and choke out Okada with his ponytail. That would be kind of cool. That would be a spot. Although now they're faces, it kind of might not fit them as well as, you know, when they were heels. And I'm also really happy that Roppongi Vice is in it, even though they kind of are just there to make up the numbers and probably and also Trent being on it, because he actually is someone with a lot, and so it's kind of fitting that him and Rocky teaming together are part of this card. Mm. Mm. And either Cobb and O'Khan winning, I mean, I'd love to see them on AEW more. They've got the G1 coming up, so I don't know how likely that is. I don't know if it's spoilers to tell people this. Like, it's not hard to find that people are in the G1, but it is kind of a spoiler as to the way that this might be going. Like, you know, these people aren't probably going to be able to show up on AEW TV on the regular for the next 6 weeks, next 6 to 8 weeks. Like, is that a spoiler? I don't know. But it's, yeah. I think FTR's style with Cobb and O'Khan, I think they're going to go so well, because FTR, like, they market themselves as this, like, you know, this old school, like the Midnight Express, like these cheating, canny ring generals, but Khan, who are guys who are unafraid to get down and dirty, unafraid to really lay it in. Particularly Cobb now, like, man, you talk about someone who's come along in leaps and bounds. I remember the first time I saw Jeff Cobb, his moves don't hit like he's a killer, but now, man, he is a heavyweight, and he throws himself around like he's a heavyweight. And I think that style is just going to blend so well with FTR. As I said, I hope they do a spot where they're choking O'Khan with his ponytail. and I think FTR win this. The reason is I've got this idea in my mind that we're going to get a match at All Out between FTR and the Bucks for everything. So for AEW, ROH, and IWGP, which are titles that, of course, the Bucks have got a lot of history with both of those titles. And currently, they're saying, you know, we're the best, and we're back. And FTR are saying as well that they're the best. They want to be the best tag teams in the world. It makes sense that they would potentially have a match with such high stakes. So that's my theory, and my thought as to why FTR will win, as well as, of course, the G1 implications. Sorry, Rocky and Trent, I don't think you're winning this. Yeah. No. But yeah, as I said, I think this will be a fun match, and I'm particularly looking forward to the FTR Cobb and O'Khan interactions. And we've seen already that Roppongi Vice and FTR they work very well. They work very well together in the ring. And Trent's also great. Like, they're just very solid. They won't let their part of the match down, and they'll also provide some highlights as well, I think. And as I said, I think it's very fitting that both of them are on there. To the next one, which is ZSJ, Zack Sabre Jr. versus question mark. This was. I mean, this is one where, of course, we talked before about how this, injuries have happened, and it's very sad to hear that Bryan Danielson won't be able to make this, and hopefully he gets cleared soon. But it does give us a beautiful question: who will take up this position, and who will wrestle Zack Sabre Jr.? Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. And the reason I specifically don't think Gargano for this is because he was saying that he's going to get another wrestler in his vein, which Gargano is not. Mm, mm. I've got him and Bryan Danielson have a lot of history together, having wrestled each other in WWE and possibly having run into each other beforehand. I don't know. And he would fit, and also has history with William Regal. They had a feud in NXT, and or FCW or NXT, I can't remember which one it was at that point when they had a feud. So he would fit in, and they were saying it's a new member of the Blackpool Combat Club, so he is someone who would fit that way, and that would be a very good replacement. But a couple others I thought of just to, think beyond the most obvious one that everyone seems to be addressing. Josh Matthews from Impact. I don't know how they could get the deal. I don't know if Impact and AEW are on speaking terms anymore or what. And he is a champ. I think he's actually the Impact champion at the moment, but he would fit the bill. Who am I thinking of? Josh. Alexander, that's it. Yep. Gosh. Yeah. So that was one thought. And the other one, and this is who I think is probably, if it's not Cesaro, Claudio, then I think this is who it'll be. Josh Barnett. So Josh Barnett, former MMA fighter, he runs Bloodsport. He's good friends with John Moxley. I'm Danielson, but I know Danielson lived in Vegas. I know that's where Barnett lives. I know Danielson used to train MMA in Vegas, and he used to hang out with Moxley in Vegas. So I've no doubt Josh Barnett and Danielson have crossed paths. I don't think he's had anything to do with Regal before, but I mean, he's an ex-UFC fighter who is a skilled catch wrestler. He would fit very well in the Blackpool Combat Club. And he is someone who can talk as well. So they could do a lot worse than Josh Barnett. So you sort of seem to raise your eyebrow when I said that. What's your thoughts around that? Yeah. Yep. Mhm. Oh, I mean, that's a good thought. I hadn't thought of that. Is he... Didn't he nearly die? Is he able to wrestle? Actually, another thought I had. Here's another thought I had. And this would fit with your thought of it being a rising wrestler. And this would also fit with the idea of, the Blackpool Combat Club taking wrestlers and it becoming almost kind of a thing where there's, different allegiances and allegiances switching between, particularly now you've got, Jericho Appreciation Society, who are very philosophically opposed to the sorts of things that the Blackpool Combat Club stand for. a thought I had was, are they going to have Daniel Garcia come out? Because he is very much in that mold. And Sammy Guevara just got adopted into the Jericho Appreciation Society as, like, I guess, their hot young thing. But they already had another hot young thing who has previously had beef with Sammy Guevara. And so it wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility for, I don't know how that works with Yuta and Garcia being in the same team, but, you know, I mean, that's just another potential wrinkle for conflict, right? But, you know, Sammy and Garcia, long term, can't get along. And maybe they're just going to hit fast forward on that, and he's going to come out and say he was disgusted that Sammy Guevara was taken in and put in his place in the Jericho Appreciation Society when Sammy Guevara turned his back on Chris Jericho. And Chris Jericho was just giving opportunities away to... And this is the same reason Ortiz and Santana left him, right? Was because Jericho was the one that was taking up all the opportunities, and Garcia can say, Bryan Danielson came to me with an opportunity, and so that's why I'm here. So that could be another shout. I think it will most likely, if I was going to play percentages, I'd say probably most likely Claudio, but Josh Barnett and Daniel Garcia could do worse than those two. Good times. Let's keep moving. We have Will Ospreay and Orange Cassidy, a match that I'm sure you'll be excited for. I know a lot of people fantasy booked Yano and Cassidy, but I like this more. Am I wrong? Yep. Yes. Yep. He's a guy who will get very hot under the collar. Yeah. Mm. Yep. Mm. Yep. Yep. Mm. 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 Yep. Yeah. Yep. Still hasn't hit the Stormbreaker. Or the reason I like this is because I think wrestling, for me, I think comedy and wrestling most often works when you've got a straight man and a comedic element. It's why I love Yano and Zack Sabre Jr. so much, because Zack Sabre Jr. is like such a. It's why I love Pac and Orange Cassidy, because you've got a straight man, and this is exactly that pairing. Like as we said, Will Ospreay is someone who is able. He will get hot under the collar. He'll get pissed off at Orange Cassidy, and it'll be hilarious. The only thing I'm slightly worried about is Will Ospreay is a guy who sometimes I'm not even sure how to put this. The way I kind of formulate the words to get my point across is that he tries too hard to make things seem iconic or make moments stick. An example for that for me is the spot he's done with Ibushi, where they're going for off the top rope. Ibushi does a Hurricanrana to flip Ospreay, but Ospreay flips out of it and lands on his feet, and the camera looks at Ospreay as he turns around and looks at Ibushi, and Ibushi looks like bemused and well, not amused, but looks stunned that Will Ospreay was able to pull off such a feat of athleticism, which was good the second time. But after that, it's like, he's done this before. You don't need to keep doing this same spot. Or another one was he brought a full samurai sword to the ring when he faced Shingo Takagi. And I was like, look, you've got a robe, you've got so many things going on here. You don't need to try. You're just trying too hard at this point. And, for me, that really grates. And I'm worried that he will pull a face that's just a bit too much, a bit too hammy, a bit too, unbelievably stunned or something at Orange Cassidy's antics that will take me out of it. That's my only thing I'm worried about. But it should be incredible because, as you said, we've got that dynamic, the straight man and the comedy man, and both of these guys are absolutely quick as whippets, and they're great. Like, they will have some incredible, breathtaking counter stretches as they, intertwine with each other and seek to counter one another's moves. So yeah, this could be absolutely fantastic as long as Will keeps a cap on his most extreme tendencies to try and make things seem iconic or momentous. Yes. Righto, mate. Next up. Yeah. Okay, let's move along. We have Chris Jericho, Minoru Suzuki, and Sammy Guevara against Eddie Kingston babysitting John Moxley's kids, Yuta, Yuta and Shooter. Brilliant. That was an example of weird trying too hard for me. Like, those two standing in the middle, it went on too long, way too long, like 3 times the amount of time it should have gone on. Yeah. I love the brawl. I just hated John Moxley and Hiroshi Tanahashi standing in the center of the ring, like eyeballing each other and, talking about the weather. Chris Jericho and Minoru Suzuki in the same match just for the theme songs. Like this is an all-time sing-along, this match. Yep. 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 Yeah, there's so much potential in the combinations in this match. Of course, you've got like Sammy and Yuta, who are like young guns in AEW. It's hard calling Sammy Guevara a young gun at this point, but he's not a main eventer at this point. They're all fighting to rise up that ladder. Shooter and Suzuki, of course, they know each other very well from Suzuki beating Shooter all around the block all the time. Being more Eddie Kingston and Minoru Suzuki. I know they're in that tag match with Lance Archer and John Moxley back at Grand Slam, but most of the interactions Eddie had in that match was with Lance Archer, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of those two. And Jericho and Eddie have really great get along, and my one thing that I'm actually think could be the ending of this match is Suzuki getting sick of Chris Jericho's crap and turning on Chris Jericho. I think there's a very real chance that costs him the match, because you think about Chris Jericho and what he currently stands for with his sports entertainment caper, and where Minoru Suzuki comes from, who was a legitimate MMA fighter in Pancrase and was trained by Carl Gotch. This is a man who takes professional wrestling very seriously, deathly seriously, which may be the case for Chris Jericho if Chris Jericho's antics get a bit out of hand, or Suzuki gets sick of Jericho's crap. Yep. Mm. Mm. I think it'll probably be Shooter taking the pin, given that they've got Blood and Guts just a few days away after it. So I don't know if Yuta's going to be in that, but in this case, Shota Umino is the odd man out in that he is currently not even part of New Japan, really. He is on excursion still, and he is not part of AEW, so he's kind of the one that can just go off to another place after this match. Whereas I don't know what the lineups will be for Blood and Guts, but I imagine they'll be putting Sammy Guevara in there, because why wouldn't you if you've got him? And given Bryan Danielson's injury situation, we may get Yura in Blood and Guts as well. So who knows? Yep. And on to the final match. We're not doing pre-shows today, but we've got Sting fighting the NWO. I mean, Sting fighting the Bullet Club. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the Young Bucks, Hikuleo and ELP versus Sting, Darby, Hiromu, and Shingo. I love the pairings in this. Match. Like ELP and the Young Bucks. Like ELP may be one of the few people in the world capable of out-pricking the Young Bucks. So that is a great pairing. And the Los Ingobernables, the Ungovernable Ones, they're a really great pairing with guys like Sting and Darby Allin, who, aren't your traditional heroes and kind of have a code of their own, but are people that the audience loves to get behind. And Hiromu and Shingo sort of fit in with that. And I'm really glad they managed to get Hiromu and Shingo onto the card, even though they weren't involved in the build-up in any way beyond their names being mentioned. Like, both of those guys are just such fantastic talent. And same with ELP as well, to a lesser extent than Hiromu and Shingo, who are, former IWGP champion and IWGP light heavyweight champion, junior ace Hiromu. I'm glad that those guys are on the card. And I think this will be a absolute blast of a match. You've got like such fast-paced guys and Hikuleo. But Shingo's there. Like Shingo, he can match it with beefier opponents, which is what he's been doing at heavyweight. But of course, he came to New Japan as a junior, so he can have great matches with small, fast guys as well. This is going to be an epic sprint. No. Yep. Hikuleo's good now. Who knew? Hmm. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Well, they said they want to do a return show in Japan, so that's definitely something that would have to be out there. Darby versus Hiromu. I'm really interested in the Bucks and Sting, because the Bucks love to do their parodies of like Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage, some way of trying to get under Sting's skin. Yeah, what's Sting gonna like no sell? um, Also, is this the first time that the Young Bucks and Darby Allin have interacted in AEW? Like, that's such a good pairing. It would be great if out of this we get a tag match for the AEW Championship between the Bucks and Sting and Darby. That would be a great result. Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the question I've got in this match is, who the hell do you pin? Because you're not pinning Sting. No way. Darby Allin is pretty protected. You're not pinning Hiromu. Shingo's about to go in the G1. You're not pinning him. He's a former heavyweight champion. The Young Bucks just became champions. You're not going to pin them. Hikuleo's like the biggest guy. And ELP is currently being elevated to the heavyweight division of New Japan. Like, you don't want him to take another loss. Like, who loses this match? Hikuleo. Let's be honest. Even though he's the biggest guy, like, you probably have Hikuleo take it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Oh, yes. I hadn't even thought of him. Oh, I want Shingo badly. Oh, oh man. Willing it into existence right now. Hmm. Yep. the best goober in all wrestling right now, Brandon Cutler. Yep. Yep. Well, that wraps up the card. I know there's a pre-show match, but I didn't get a slide for that one. The only thing I feel like this whole thing's missing, really, is I would have loved to have seen a battle royale with all the sorts of odds and bobs. Have your Taguchi, but I know they've got stuff going on in Japan at the moment as well. But you could have your Taguchis, your Wattos, just the guys that aren't on the card. Sonata, Evil, Show. There's no, I don't think there's any House of Torture on this. You could have, if you had a battle royale, like, they knew what the American fans wanted and what they didn't want. But there's lots of people, the New Japan dads, you could stick them in that too. You could have done a really fun battle royale on the pre-show, maybe down the line sometime. Maybe when they do the return show in Japan, they could do that, but that's the only thing that I want to see they're not really doing. Beyond the injured people that we can't get on the on the thing, and yeah, exactly, yeah, yep, but. Look, I'm pumped for this card, as I said at the start. I've got the day off. I'm going to be riding my bike, going out, getting a sweat on, coming home, having some buffalo wings, watching this show that, we've wanted to watch for years. Not everything's been great with the build-up. Not everything's gone to plan, but it's happening, and that's enough. In so many ways, that's enough. Like, I compare this show so much to Double or Nothing 2021. The more I think about it, the more I compare it to that show. In that, like, it's just a good time. It's just a good vibe. And the crowd's going to be absolutely bananas mental. They're going to be so excited. It's the most diehard of the diehards who are there. It's going to be a fun show. This is going to be a really fun show. Yeah. Well, you saw the reaction Okada got. Like, he's been treated like a god, yeah. Mm. Yep. Yeah. Mm. Mm. I've got 7.5 hours before I need to go and pick up my daughter from daycare. So hopefully it doesn't go that long. That would be a disaster if it went that long. That would be an absolute disaster if it went that long. I'm up for 5. I'm up for a 5 hour for this. Why not? Yep. Well, look, let's call it a night. I've had a lot of fun. Thank you very much for being here with me, Imp. As I said, I'm really looking forward to this show, and I've really enjoyed previewing it with you. Imp, where can the good people find you? And I know you mentioned the Aftershock show, so make sure you plug that. And also, plug your G1 columns if you're doing them this year too.